A very warm welcome to everybody. We welcome you all to today's webinar on the way ahead for the 2018. We are very thankful to Mr. Ernest Blom for having this webinar for us today. Now I hand over the webinar to him to take it forward from here. In case if you have any questions, you can still post it in the questions panel and we would be happy to answer them. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you and welcome to everybody. It's a pleasure and an honor to be able to speak to all of you about what's happening in 2018. And first of all, I wish everybody a good 2018, and I hope it's going to be a profitable year for all of us. But when we first started this webinar, there were 7 questions that were sent to me by the organizers of the webinar, and I think I'd like to start with that, and then once we finish that, I can then answer the questions that will appear on the screen. So just to start, one of the first questions is what is the supply and demand forecast for rough and polished diamonds for the year that lies ahead? Personally, I believe that the rough supply will again be stable, and it will be in the range of around about 130 to 135 million carats, as it was in previous years. We haven't seen any more large mining operations come on side. We do have a few challenges with a few of the larger ones, such as in Russia. So I believe that the supply will remain stable for the foreseeable future. I also believe that the sales would also be around about $13 to $15 billion. And then if we look at that's for the rough. If we look at the polished, I think as in recent years, we feel that the polished will also be around about $18 billion globally. Unfortunately, we did see a slight decline in polished prices last year, but going towards the end of the year and running up to the season, some of those losses were moderated, and I believe that we made up those losses. We had a very, very buoyant sales period. Coupled with that, the US economy seems to be strengthening, and I believe that will give the diamond jewelry industry a boost for the coming year. The other important markets such as China and India are also pretty robust, and I think that will help towards hopefully making our business a good business for the year that lies ahead. The second question was, how should diamond cutting and polishing units and diamond jewelry manufacturers plan for demand and price volatility in 2018? Well, one of the first and fundamental practices is that I think our businesses should be run in a prudent manner. They should be very, very well structured and planned going forward. And I think one of the most important things is that, especially for the rough side, there shouldn't be that element of speculation. I think we should buy what we see on the table if there's a profit, and we should walk away from articles that will not give us a profit. I think that's extremely, extremely important going forward. We have seen in the past few years a lot of speculation taking place, and that is always not a healthy sign. I think we should work on the supply and demand and work with the market forces. But we also know that the volatility in the world's economy is always there, and that can cause temporary upswings and downswings in our diamond industry. And this can cause, obviously, if we're not well prepared, problems in our business. But I do have a lot of faith in our members and my members, and I think that we do understand the volatility of the market sometimes, and we can prepare accordingly. And as we know that these changes are normally temporary, but it is important that we continuously promote the diamond business. Well, the third question was, what is the most appropriate model for participation by diamond miners, traders, manufacturers, and retailers for ensuring growth in consumer demand for diamonds? I've always believed that all members of the pipeline, that's us, need to take it upon themselves to be involved in promoting diamonds and diamond jewelry. We can actually see ourselves, and I see myself, and I'm hoping you see yourselves as brand ambassador for diamond jewelry. We need to promote them whenever and wherever we can. But we are fortunate that we do have the DPA, the Diamond Producers Association, which was formed by the largest diamond mining companies, and they've got a fairly substantial budget, and they are now doing the generic promotion of diamonds and diamond jewelry. which should bode well for us in the future. But as I said earlier on, I think that we as the players in the industry should continue to look to see how we can help brand. We need to speak to the media more often as and when necessary. We need to interact with the consumers to promote diamonds and diamond jewelry. And we need to promote the uniqueness and the beauty of diamonds. I think each and every one of us is a unique marketing center. We should bear that in mind. And if we go out there, like for the World Federation of Diamond Bourses, I have over 30,000 members. We have 30,000 brand ambassadors that can go out there to promote the beauty of our product, which is diamonds. The fourth question that was posed to me is, what should traders and manufacturers and retailers not do in 2018? I believe firmly that all our members and all of us in this call should make sure that we actually act prudently, as I said earlier on, and not speculate too much. We should order and produce in line with the demand that is there. And again, we should not speculate, and we should only try to buy to make profit. The next question, the fifth question, is what is the most optimal model to create diamonds and promote diamonds, demand and promote diamonds by all stakeholders? Well, as we said earlier on, the DPA has been operating for just on 2 years. It is making very, very good progress in the United States market. And it is also, as it's announced recently, launching in India and China as well. I feel it's correct that they are the one body that should be in charge of these programs, so we can all speak with one voice globally, and that further infusions of money will also help help with the sustainability. So obviously we would like to see some more money spent on advertising. But again, I think we must all do our part, and we must all contribute towards the advertising pipeline in whichever way possible. Then the sixth question was, is there a way of linking each of the stakeholders' marketing contribution to the profitability of their value chain? I believe that all the efforts by companies in branding and advertising has an impact, but the more that is out there, the better. We have seen a lot of our larger organizations and companies doing their own branding, and I think that's an excellent thing. And since the DPA now exists, it makes sense for this one overarching body to promote diamond jewelry on behalf of the entire industry. Again, I must emphasize that we are part of this industry and we also have that same responsibility. And then the last question was, in spite of a better advertisement investment to sales ratio in India and China, the DPA has decided to invest first in the USA. And the question is, what is the logic therefore? Well, clearly the United States is the biggest and the most important diamond jewelry market in the world as we speak, with around 50% of the sales being sold in America. And this is extremely important to understand. And I think this was also the launch pad for the DPA in their promotions campaign. That means I believe that it was correct for the DPA to start in the United States, but it also provides an excellent testing ground for their programs. And I think that they fine-tuned a lot of their programs since they first launched the first advertising campaign before they could go into other centers. But having started in the United States about 2 years ago, the DPA quickly has moved on to launching in India and in the Chinese markets in 2017 and 2018. So I think they understand the importance of the other markets, and that's why they're now putting a lot of emphasis on those two markets. And these are also important sale area with a growing number of millennials. I think that's a new future of the industry, and it's something that I know the DPA is definitely concentrating on for the future. So that brings me to the end of the 7 questions that the organizers had posed. I would now answer any questions that are coming up at the webinar. I seem to be getting it now. Let's just go. They say, how do we see the 5% tax introduced in 2017 and followed by the 5% VAT in the Middle East impact on the industry? And that, well, obviously, I was at the conference in Dubai, when that was first brought to our attention that the 5% VAT is a problem. I don't believe it's so much of a problem for the rough industry, but it's obviously a bit of a problem for the polished industry in the initial stages. I think that the modus operandi of the Dubai government or the UAE government will be such that the repayment of the VAT should be fast and promptly. I think it's just a question of all of us getting used to it and making sure that we have to work within the system. But I think we can work around it, and I think eventually, long term, it shouldn't have too much of an effect on the industry. And in terms of India, I think that's another question that needs to be asked for the Indian industry. And I think that I share their concern about that, about the taxes that's being levied. And I know that they are speaking intimately and very closely with the government, and hopefully that will bring results. But again, we as the industry are extremely resilient, and I think that we will overcome it, and we will work around it, and we will start actually embrace it and eventually go forward working with the VAT system. The next question is, the latest boom of cryptocurrency has been headlined. How do you see and feel if it will sustain in the days to come? I think cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all the others is something that's new. I still haven't got my head around it completely, although I do believe that we should be open to all innovations, and this seems to be one of them. I recall the days when we used to have the diamond, before we had the diamond plotting machines, the Galaxy and the Sarin and those machines, where we used a Mo gauge and a calculator to work out the recovery of diamonds. And if I look how far that has progressed from those years to now, and it's not that far distant that it's happened, I think that cryptocurrency is something of the future. But for me, it's still, the jury's out on this one, and we still have to keep a close eye on it. And the next question is, from my opinion, a new interesting type of cut of diamonds should be marketed to make consumers demand of our stones. What is your take on this? I think that the round brilliant obviously is the mainstay of our industry. The vast majority of all the diamonds are polished there. We've also had all the different fancy shapes in that, and we've had a few of the bigger companies marketing their own cuts. But I think that anything that will add to the brilliance, excuse the pun, of the industry, and that'll add to the sales of diamonds is a good thing. So I think if there are new cuts, yes, I think we need to embrace on this. We need to embrace this, and I think we need to promote it. But the persons or the companies that have devolved this new cut obviously needs to promote it first. But yes, I'm always in favor of something new. Trading out of Dubai has grown exponentially for the last few years. With the intro of 5% cost increase, do you see a shift of business out of Dubai? As I said earlier on, when I attended the Diamond Conference in Dubai late last year, many of the traders there said to me that if they bring in the 5% tax, a lot of them will be leaving and going to other jurisdictions. But I don't think that is the case. I think that the Diamantes, as I said, is a resilient bunch of people. They will understand it and work around it. So I still think that Dubai will remain as prominent as it has always in the past. Will it move to some other centers? Do you see any other new sector country developing for trading? So the question was, will it move to other centers, and do I see any other countries for developing and trading? I think there's always the chance that new centers will open. If we look back a few years ago, Panama opened up. I was in Macau in September, October last year, and they're thinking of opening up a diamond center there. So there will always be this desire to open up centers. We see in Russia, the Vladivostok has become a new trading center. So yes, I do foresee new trading centers opening up. It will expand the footprint of the diamond industry around the world. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Next question, is the lack of interest from the buyers caused by just the cost aspect or also about the perception of ethical standards and lack of innovation? I think it's basically to do with the economy of the countries and the world economy. I believe that, and I know, in fact, I don't believe, I know that the diamond industry is one of the most regulated industries in the world. I believe it to be an extremely ethical industry. So I think that the reticence of buyers from the consumer side is a question of economics, and hopefully that when the economic factors in the world change and improve, so will the sales of diamonds improve. Having said that, we must understand that America had a very good season this last year. China is not bad at all, as I said, and India is also doing very, very well. So I do see a very, very stable and strong market for the coming year. The next question, how do you think e-commerce would grow, decline this year, and how can we be prepared for either of these outcomes? I personally believe e-commerce is going to get bigger and bigger. I think more and more people are taking to the internet to buy diamonds and other products, not only diamonds and jewelry. And I think that we just in our companies have to be innovative and embrace that technology. It's out there. It can be utilized. I think each and every one of us just has to embrace it and make a decision in terms of our own companies. Which way are we going? Are we going to go internet-based? We're going to go just as we have before, selling to our customers face-to-face, or a combination of both. I think that's for each company to decide on its own. What is my take on blood diamonds this year? Well, firstly, let me say one thing, that the word blood diamonds is completely wrong. There's no such a thing as a blood diamond. The correct terminology is conflict diamonds. The word blood diamonds came when this movie star was launched 10 years ago. That's where the phrase blood diamonds came from. But having said that, there's basically no more blood diamonds in the world, or conflict diamonds. When we first became aware of conflict diamonds in the year 2000, it was approximately 4% of global turnover. Today, it's less than 0.2%. So to me, that's a win-win story. I think it's a highly successful story. But what is very important is that the Kimberley process continues to do its job, and it's doing a good job. Kimberley process has to be there to make sure that when conflicts do arise, we have the processes in place to combat that, and also to give the consumer the confidence in our product that they need. And this is what the Kimberley process is doing. So yes, at the moment, there's no conflict diamonds, and hopefully there will be no conflict diamonds in years ahead. How do I see the new financial platform for diamond and jewelry industry called Motherland joining the industry? Again, I think this is early days yet. Anything that will help the industry, anything that will encourage new business for the industry and new forms of financial assistance is to be welcomed. I think it's early days yet, so I think let's just reserve our judgment before we can express an opinion on their entry into the market. The next question is, how do I plan to address the existing concerns about overgrading and subsequent damage to customer confidence? That's one of the biggest problems that we had, is the overgrading. We were extremely forceful in tackling this last year. We spoke to all the labs concerned. We brought in all the parties that were guilty of overgrading, and we disciplined them severely. We'll keep a watching brief on this, and we'll keep our ear to the ground in the year that lies ahead. And if it does raise its ugly head, and I must say that I totally disapprove of what's been happening, but hopefully I think we've put a major spoke in the wheel of those dishonest traders. But if it raises its ugly head, then we will obviously tackle it with all the force at our disposal. Another question is, need for the industry to reinvent itself to ensure adequate funding and marketability. What is my take on this? Yes, I totally agree with you. I think that the industry definitely needs to become more assertive. We already have become very assertive. We definitely need more funding in the industry. Unfortunately, there are those negative perceptions out there by the financial services about our industry, which is totally uncalled for. So we have embarked upon a policy of engaging with the financial institutions and also of trying to rectify the negative perceptions that should not be out there. So yes, I'm aware of it. The WFDB is aware of it, and we are tackling this aggressively. Do you feel mining of diamonds should be reduced due to the environmental impact the world is facing? No, definitely not. I think mining is one of the diamond mining, I should say, is one of the least impactful mining operations in the mining sphere. If you look at the rehabilitation aspect of mining and the way clean mining is done, I'm very happy that mining is not environmentally detrimental to the environment, because we do have rehabilitation practices in place. But what is also important to understand is that the diamond mining is actually a clean operation in as much as we don't use any acids, etc., to clean the diamonds like with precious metals. So I haven't got a problem with diamond mining. And also one thing to understand and remember is that diamond mining actually helps a lot of the communities around there. If you look at a lot of the impoverished countries around the world, if it wasn't for diamond mining, they would have been in a far worse state than what they are now. So I think that diamond mining actually helps the communities to make a very, very good existence. It says, how can we reduce the competition between one another in the industry in all stages from mining to the sale of diamonds, as there's too much competition? And that's why consumers are getting confused who to buy from. I think that this is an interesting question, but at the end of the day, each business is entitled to run its business in its own way. It's entitled to offer whatever prices it wants to offer in its own way. What we just have to understand is that the businesses must act in an ethical way. So I don't think that there's any chance of us regulating how a business should be done. That's just not applicable. I don't think that the laws of most of the countries will not allow that. But we just have to make sure that all the persons trading and dealing with consumers do act in an ethical way so as to protect the consumer confidence out there. Next question is, do you think there will be new and cheaper machines to identify synthetic diamonds? Yes, I do. If you have a look at where we've come from a few years ago when the first synthetic machines were launched, I think eventually we will see a cheaper machine that everybody can afford. So yes, I'm very positive that this will happen in the not too distant future. The next question is, how can government across the globe help the industry better? Well, it's very important, and my country is South Africa, and I've often spoken to the government, and I said, if you want a successful diamond industry, you should have a very close cooperation between government and industry. So I think it's up to the diamond exchanges, the diamond bourses in all the different countries, and we are represented in 24 different countries, the World Federation of Diamond Bourses, that is. Should each and every one of those bourses should be speaking to their governments to try and get a closer cooperation. If we look at the success stories, we look at India, although yes, there are complaints, but it's a very big success story because there's a close relationship between government and industry. We look at Israel, they're working very close with the government, and that's going well. Antwerp has just made some momentous deals with the government in terms of taxation, etc., and that's going well. So it's vitally important that each and every country's bourse should speak to the governments, because that's the only way that they're going to grow their diamond industry in that particular country. The next question is, would lab-grown diamonds production impact on the natural diamond prices in the coming year? We should also ensure that resale prices are far more fair that will push sales? Are there any efforts towards this? Well, in terms of synthetic diamonds, I don't believe that it will impact upon the diamond industry. And I'd just like to say at this particular point in time, we will be sending out a circular to all our members that when we describe the word diamond, we should never use any other word before it. So it's not to be known as natural diamond or any other diamond. It is simply known as diamond because that is the correct nomenclature for diamonds. So with synthetics, that's a different matter. They can be called synthetic, and they have to be called either synthetic diamonds, lab-grown, or man-made diamonds. But let's get back to the pricing thereof. I've always said that our diamonds has a natural niche in the market, that the people always want it. Synthetic diamonds, by the same token, will also have its own niche market, and they will have customers. But I don't believe that the production of synthetics at this stage warrants any concern for the natural diamond, and excuse my words, for the natural diamond industry. Bear one thing in mind as well, that diamonds that are mined have a finite resource. So you're not going to find any more diamonds than what are out there in the earth already. Whereas with synthetic diamonds, they can be produced ad infinitum. As many machines as you can build, those machines can make synthetic diamonds. So I actually think that the synthetic diamond prices will drop over a period of time. Would there be an increase in diamond export in the globe in the upcoming year? Well, as I said in my earlier opening responses to questions, I believe that we'll have a stable market. I believe we can see some growth globally. So yes, I'm very positive that we'll have a very stable and very buoyant industry for the year 2018. Next question. Major banks who are into diamond finances are withdrawing their limits globally. How to overcome the problem? Alternatively, mechanism, if any, being perceived by bourses globally. As I said earlier on, yes, I'm concerned about it, and we as a World Federation is also extremely concerned about it. We are engaging with the banks. We are, as I said, trying to get rid of those negative perceptions that shouldn't be out there. So yes, we are continually going, and we're also looking at other avenues of finance. Be it crowdfunding, be it from financial institutions, etc. So I don't think we should rely totally on the banks alone. I think we are actually looking at other avenues of finance as well. Is there a global forum where one can complain about the mixing and malpractices in the trade? Well, there's only one big forum that you can really complain to, and that is the World Federation of Diamond Bourses. For those of you who don't know, the World Federation of Diamond Bourses, the WFDB, of which I am president, has 30 diamond exchanges in 24 countries. I have about 30,000 members who is a member of one of the bourses, and I would say that 95% of all the diamonds in the world go through one of my exchanges and one of my members. So if you were to complain, if you are a member, then you go to your bourse and you will complain, and the bourse executive committee will then take the matter further. If you are not a member and you would like to lodge a complaint, you're more than welcome to write to our secretariat in Antwerp, and you'll find that on our website. If you just Google the WFDB website, you can communicate with them and we'll have a look at that. How do we teach the younger generation to be able to make this industry grow more than it has? Also, how do you expect the younger generation to be enthusiastic about this industry as we are? It's always been a concern of mine that we're not bringing in enough of the younger generation. And I think that we as the older generation need to engender a spirit of excitement in our industry. I think we need to engage with the younger generation much more than we have in the past. To give you an example, we as the World Federation of Diamond Bourses actually have a committee, have a subcommittee and an entity which we call the Young Diamantes Association. And they have regular webinars, they have regular telephone chats, they have got a WhatsApp group, and maybe we can encourage the youngsters to join that to see what it's all about, and then hopefully from there they will come into the industry. But yes, it's something we are aware of, and it's something that we're trying to promote globally. Why should the new millennium want to be part of it, with the risk factor increasing not only business volatility, but also morality issues and lab-grown diamond adulteration issues? Have demonetized the diamond aura of the 70s to 90s, when even the Argyle Browns were projected as champagne and put India on the world map for production capacity. Again, I think diamonds is a product that we love. I think diamonds is something that I've been involved in I'm the third generation. My son is in the business with me. He's the fourth generation. We just need to make sure that we always behave ethically. We get rid of the obstacles that are in the path of the growth of our industry. And we make sure that the youngsters would want to see and identify with the diamond industry going forward. Would want to know your views as how to various diamond bourses can help each other in increasing demand for diamonds. Well, what's very interesting is if you look at the major big centers, it started off in New York, where they have the New York Diamond Week. It's progressed through to Israel, and I think they have one coming up in the next week or two. And India has a regular one as well. So the larger, and Antwerp also has an extremely big one. So all the larger centers are already encouraging intertrade between all the bourses, which is a positive thing. I think for the smaller bourses to have that type of interaction or those type of weeks would be very difficult because of the finances involved. But I do believe that they've all been invited to the various centers for the diamond weeks there, and it's something that the bourses should encourage their members to attend. And I think thereby we can increase the global trade in diamonds. How specifically do you recommend that retailers undertake to join generic marketing activities? I don't think that we, as the downstream industry of the diamond side, can dictate to the retailers about entering the generic marketing industry. You do have a lot of the larger groups that do their own marketing, and I've always believed no matter what type of marketing you do, as long as you're marketing diamond jewelry, it's always good for everybody. But I think the smaller shops, the smaller retailers, to find them difficulty, but they will be benefiting from the advertising campaigns of the DPA, because not only are we promoting generic diamond jewelry, but they're going to start promoting it in all the major countries and consuming markets. And what are the measures taken at the WFDB level in taking action against the companies mixing goods and trading? So we as the WFDB have taken the lead on this. We have instructed all our bourses that as soon as they find mixing taking place, they have to interview the persons concerned or the companies concerned and take the appropriate action. Thankfully, that has already happened in quite a few bourses. There's quite a few instances that we have taken strong action against those that have been mixing their goods. And it's something that we always have to remain vigilant with and remain on alert. Which are the emerging diamond markets you see coming this year? Like you talked about generic promotion of diamonds at the miners level, do you see and recommend similar kind of generic promotion through to retailers? Well, as I said earlier on, the generic promotion goes through to the retail level as well. In fact, it's actually encouraging the promotion at the retail level. The emerging markets are still pretty strong. America is obviously one of the established ones. China and India in particular are a very, very strong emerging market. And I think it's not going to be in the too distant future where they're going to be almost on par with America. Then there are other centers, the Asia Pacific Rim, they are all good marketing centers. South America is coming on stream. So I do believe that the generic marketing will start to help and will start to have an impact. And all the smaller centers will see the spin-off on this. How do you see overgrading of diamonds impacting the confidence at the end consumer? It's something that I am extremely concerned about. Fortunately, we haven't had any comebacks yet from consumer level. I know there are 1 or 2 class actions that are taking place, particularly in the United States, but it's something that we'll keep a watching brief on. And what I've always said to the consumer is that when you want to buy a diamond or a piece of diamond jewelry, always deal with somebody who's a member of a trade organization. Because if there's something wrong with what you've purchased, you can always come back to that boss or that organization and you can lodge a complaint. So therein lies their confidence in the industry, by knowing they're dealing with somebody who is ethically good and who is actually part of an organization where there can be comeback if necessary. Next question is, there are a number of diamond exchanges that have sprung up in recent years, namely Dubai, Panama, Lisbon. Do you think a rise in the number of diamond exchanges globally will disturb the old mine to Antwerp supply chain, or is it healthy for the global growth of the diamond business? I think it's extremely healthy for the global business. If we take Dubai, they opened up in the year 2000, so they've been going for nearly 18 years now. Panama opened up about 3 or 4 years ago. But I don't see it as a challenge to any of the existing centers. I see it as a complement to the various centers, because the traditional large trading centers, namely the Antwerps, the Mumbai's, the Tel Avivs, the New Yorks of the world, are all big trading centers, and they'll be supplying into that market. So I see the existence or the coming into being of new exchanges as an extremely positive thing. One note, Lisbon, they have applied, but they're not members at the moment. They will only become members if accepted at our Diamond Congress in June in Tel Aviv. From the new jeweler, are you for diamond being commoditized? See the Singapore Diamond Exchange and ICX in India coming with the diamond as a commodity for trading. I don't think that diamonds have ever been seen as a commodity. I can't say that they never will become a commodity. We've seen quite a few of these exchanges opening up and closing down. So I think it's still early days yet. I think the jury is still out on this one. We'll just have to watch and see how this evolves. So before I pass comment, I think let's let some time go by to see how successful the existing ones have been. How is the menace of lab-grown diamonds are contained tackled by the bourses worldwide? Again, I think that I wouldn't like to call it the menace of synthetic diamonds. I think the only menace that there is when you have unethical people that are mixing up synthetic diamonds with natural diamonds. I believe, as I said earlier on, synthetics have a niche market. Our diamonds have been in existence for hundreds of years and will continue to do so. And I think it'll continue to grow. The demand will always be there. So in terms of tackling this problem, or not a problem, in terms of tackling this situation, the DPA was specifically formed for promoting diamonds as opposed to synthetics. And I think they're doing an admirable job, and I'm sure it's going to expand as the years go on. Next question, any gem-related cryptocurrency you know of that is to be launched for the gem industry? And how do you see diamond pricing being standardized across the globe? Well, first of all, the only cryptocurrency that I know that will be launched shortly is the press release we saw from Israel. They did say that they are going to bring out a cryptocurrency. They weren't very full with details, so we'll have to see what actually happens when they do the launching. In terms of standardization, well, we do have a tacit understanding of what the prices are. But again, as I said earlier, we can never tell a company at what price to sell the diamonds. We can never tell them how much discount off a price list they should be given. So I think that depends on each and every company. It depends on what their marketing is. It depends on what their needs are in terms of how they have to turn over their diamonds. So it's almost impossible to try and force a standard pricing structure on an industry that basically works with many and different companies. The latest boom Just go back a bit, please. The latest boom of cryptocurrency has been headlined. How do you see and feel it will sustain in the days to come? Again, I think that it's early days yet. I think we just got to keep a watching brief on this. I have no doubt that it will become something of the future and it will enter our industry. But whether it's going to be this year, the next year, or in the next 10 years, I think that remains to be seen. Following question, from my opinion, a new interesting type of cut of diamonds should be marketed to make consumers demand of our stones. What is your take on this? I think I've answered this particular question. Again, anything that will help sell is a good thing, and I think we should continue to promote that. And actually, the inventors of those different cuts should actually promote it themselves. Trading out of Dubai has grown exponentially for the last few years. With the intro of 5% cost increase, do you see a shift of business? I think I'm actually going back to the original questions. I don't see any new questions on the screen. Any other questions for me? Oh, that's an interesting question. I think that what we have to understand is that the millennials are obviously the market of the future. I think what we have to do is make sure that the millennials have confidence in our product. I think with the growing of the confidence in our product will be the understanding that diamonds can be a item of value for them going ahead. So I think it's a question of promoting it as much as we can with the millennials, and then going from there onwards, I think they will themselves embrace diamonds as a store of value and as something to invest in. Yeah, I think that the answer for both will remain the same. With the centennials, I think as the marketing changes towards them, so we might change our opinions. But as it stands now, I think the most important thing we can do to the millennials and the future millennials, the centennials, I think that we need to make sure that they have confidence in our product. We need to make sure that they embrace our product. And when they want to spend money on something of a luxury, diamond jewelry is the first thing they think of.
I think then those were the only questions that we had for today. We are good to close this session for now. Would like to, on behalf of entire GemAtlas team and the entire audience, would like to thank Mr. Blom for having this very informative and wonderful presentation and the session for us today. We are good to close. In case if you are interested in any of the further webinars, you can join us through gematlas.com.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And I'd like to wish everybody a lovely weekend ahead.
Thank you, everybody. We are ending the session for now.
Thank you.